Well, each of them had a clear mission. It was obvious. Tim Kaine had the role of attack dog, and he was going to prosecute Donald Trump. And the strategy of the Clinton campaign is clear. Put the focus on Donald Trump. Mike Pence, on the other hand, had a different approach. We need to stop the bleeding, and we need to go on offense. And I think both were very, very effective in the end. Overall, on the night, edge to Governor Pence, particularly stylistically.
Why do you say that?
Governor Pence overall this evening was very composed, very measured, and I think he came across really, really well, in control. Tim Kaine, on the other hand, well prepared substantively, but interrupted many, many times. I think stylistically it detracted from the presentation of Tim Kaine, who was very prepared to prosecute Donald Trump. Overall, when you take a look at this debate, I think you'll see that a very disciplined, very measured, and I think very in control Governor Pence far exceeded expectations of many, and I think gets the edge in this debate. Historically, vice presidential debates don't really move the needle. They don't tend to have much of an impact at all, maybe 1% at most. And when you look at this debate, realistically, is it unlikely to change things? Unlikely. However, I do think it was important. You probably had a big viewership. You had 85 million in the first debate. I'm going to estimate you had maybe 40 million Americans watching last night. Very important, particularly important for the Trump campaign, which is on its heels. It did need to stop the bleeding, and I think Governor Pence was probably very successful in stopping the bleeding to the extent that it was a very positive, good night for Governor Pence, and probably a pretty good night for the Trump campaign overall. Having said that, Tim Kaine was very prepared, very knowledgeable. He prosecuted the case well, particularly with a long litany of attacks on Donald Trump, starting off really on the tax returns, hit very forcefully on the tax returns, talked about his statements about women and Mexicans, and then went into some policy, talking about the Trump comments on nuclear weapons and Putin. So Tim Kaine was eager, maybe too eager in terms of his style, but still scored some points. I think watching last night head-to-head probably assured voters that the undercard is pretty good. I think Tim Kaine was impressive. I think Governor Pence was impressive. And many people, for better or for worse, are probably thinking that it wouldn't be a terrible thing if this was flipped. Now that's a little harsh, but it does make a statement about the quality of both of these men. Both very smart, both very experienced, both with executive experience as governors, as federal legislators. They had different roles last night. Attack dog for Tim Kaine, Governor Pence, stop the bleeding and let's turn this on offense. And by the way, very effective in prosecuting the record of Hillary Clinton over the last years on foreign policy and on the economy. But I think if anything, voters probably came away assured that there are two pretty good people in the vice presidential slots.
Was there anything you saw that you didn't expect?
I think probably Tim Kaine was a little bit out of character for what people expected of him. Very likable, very personal, nice guy. I think he was cast in the role of attack dog, and that may not have been comfortable for him, and maybe that's why he was a little out of character. For Governor Pence, he probably exceeded expectations for many. Very calm, very measured, very knowledgeable, and very in command for much of the night, and a smart debater, not taking the bait when baited by Tim Kaine, and instead pivoting to going on offense, something that Donald Trump did not do in the first debate.